Welcome to the Self-Publishing School podcast. This is the podcast to listen to if you're an aspiring writer or an author who wants to be more successful. On this show, you'll learn how to write and launch a book successfully, all from the top authors and people just like you who are doing it at the highest level. I'm your host, Chandler Bolt, the founder of Self-Publishing School, the author of the book called Published, and the CEO of selfpublishing.com. For free training on how to publish a book that sells 10,000 copies, go to selfpublishing.com/free training.
Automation is going to touch everything, and it's just a matter of time until it touches every single industry. And I've looked at this from all angles. I've been reading books on technology, and all you can do right now is at least start to learn. That's the best first step you could take. I think we have to think about the uses for each of these AI tools and match that up appropriately to see success. So achieving, I think, realistic goals can really happen if you set the right expectations. Okay, what should the AI tool features be? And then you test that tool. Don't just believe the marketing. And then if it does, that's your new marketing best friend, and you're going to save so much time.
Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and joining me today is Julia McCoy. Julia is a 10-time author. She's the founder of Content Hacker. She's also the president of Content at Scale, working on an AI initiatives for advanced human-like AI writers. Julia's got a super interesting background. She's built a writing agency, a 100-person writing agency over a decade. She successfully exited that writing agency back in 2021. And now is scaling an AI company. So really interesting, just a lot of examples of scaling a writing team. How do you make money as a writer? And now a lot of examples with AI and monetizing AI, using AI to grow your business, using AI to write books, like a lot of stuff we can unpack and that we will unpack in this episode. So welcome, Julia.
Thank you, Chandler. Thrilled to be here. You nailed it. There's so much we could probably talk about for hours. Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, let's do it. Well, I guess we'll dive straight in. First things first, you've got a quote on your LinkedIn: adapt to AI or die. That's me. I think, going to be the hook of this episode. What does that mean, and why do you believe that?
Yeah, it is that. It's that divide right now. I think it is exactly, if you put it in one sentence, that's what I would say, because back in 2021, when I sold my agency and I saw GPT on the horizon, I saw it was coming. I got out when the going was good, when it was actually really hard to sell. And it felt like the wrong move. But I can't tell you, looking back, like hindsight is 2020. They say that is so true. Looking back, I cannot believe the right move that I made at that time, because in the next year, ChatGPT launched September, or the fall of 2022, November. And what occurred over that year, where I had already sold my agency, got out when the going was good, I had some writing agency friends that reached out to me that fall, shortly after ChatGPT came out. And they told me, it's a good thing you sold when you did. I've lost 75% of my business. And I checked in on them the next year and they never regained it. And some of them, I don't think they pivoted in time. So I don't think like you have to lose. And I'm an opportunist. I always see the glass half full, not half empty. So I think it's how you approach life too. But that said, I think getting out of the content writing business when I did, so I could adapt to AI, was probably one of the smartest moves of my entire career. And we're living in a clear divide where automation is going to touch everything, and it's just a matter of time until it touches every single industry. And I've looked at this from all angles. I've been reading books on technology and listening to a lot of AI developers and top engineers, people that came from Google, people that built DeepMind, some of the first machine learning algorithms. And they're all saying what's coming is going to be even hard to fathom. Like, we're going to see total automation. So I think like so few people are aware. Sometimes you have to say it that drastically for them to be like, whoa, okay, I'm going to start to at least learn. Because that's all you can do right now, is at least start to learn. That's the best first step you could take.
Got it. So let's start with the writing agencies on a whole. Do you feel like those businesses are that's just a dying business? Is it, okay, there's still something there, but it's just going to be smaller? Or is it, hey, there's opportunity for AI in those businesses to dramatically scale? Like, what does that look like? What's the state of that kind of industry right now?
Yeah, I think it's a state of upheaval. Sam Altman said something really interesting. He's like, the first jobs that went to GBT were the creative jobs. And I was like, ding, ding, that's exactly what happened to my writing agency. Like, I see it. The whole writing industry is just going through major upheaval. And I do have some friends that are winning. I don't want to say like everyone's losing. I got to give a shout out to John Doherty at Editor and Ninja. What he's done is he's taken this AI first approach, and they're using AI in their writing team. They've scaled down how many people they hired, and they've actually scaled up their output. And so he's been winning. That is like a great approach. So if you're in the writing industry, the best thing you could do is use AI, because it's the human using the AI that will always replace the one that's not and still living in the Stone Age and old times. So adapting now means that you're going to be ahead of a huge percentage of business owners, marketers, writers that are still not adapting because there's so much fear that's holding people back, that this is an unknown Wild West territory. So I think the writing industry as a whole is going to see some major upheaval. And I think it is one of the first industries, just like graphic design was touched by Midjourney, video now is going to be touched by Sora. Like, we're going to see all these creative tasks, not necessarily like the strategy and the like how that's executed, but the task itself of writing, creativity, that is going to drastically change.
And so just so the audience is clear, and for myself as well, when you're talking about the writing industry, are you talking about largely freelance writing, writing blog post? Like, what do you mean by the writing industry that's being disrupted?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say content writing and copywriting. So that's your blogs, that's your website copies, sales letters, emails. And I don't see copy yet. Like, we still have a human copywriter aboard our team. We tell her to use our AI. So like very strategic copy, brand messaging. AI is not there yet, but it's getting close to that too. But it has like automated, I'd say 90% of the generalized content creation, which is your blog, your traffic generating content. Like, AI can actually do it better than a lot of average human content writers.
Got it. So let's talk, I want to bucket this in a few different parts. So I want to talk about AI to grow your business, AI to write books, AI to market books and business. There's a bunch of different, your favorite AI tools. Like, we'll kind of progress through a bunch of this stuff throughout the interview. I guess for starters, like, how are you using AI in your business right now to grow? Like, what's working? What are the use cases?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I am a big fan of matching a specific output to an AI tool and kind of working backwards. So for us, we are heavy all in on content marketing. That's been my industry of expertise for a decade. So that was the first one that I was like, can this be automated? Can the work I do specialize in, can it be automated? So the LLM by itself, which that's your large language model, that's Claude, that's ChatGPT, that's Gemini. They can't necessarily do all the fact checking, real-time research, compilation of original content. It's just impossible, because a single LLM is good at detecting, generating, and predicting, but not necessarily fact checking. In fact, OpenAI is like, there's no really source of truth in this LLM. You should know that. That was one of their first announcements when they launched ChatGPT. So knowing that, I think we have to think about the uses for each of these AI tools and match that up appropriately to see success. So ChatGPT, I treat it like my assistant. If I need a spreadsheet organized, I'll upload it to ChatGPT because it has that feature now. And I use the plus plans. That's $20 a month. Totally worth it. It like replaces I'd say a $20 an hour assistant. It's unbelievable. And I'll say, hey, organize this spreadsheet. I need these columns removed. And I save like 4 hours work. But I would never ask ChatGPT to write a blog. What I would do is go find an AI tool stack that has the real-time research, the links, checking facts, putting in citations, and I would find the best tool for that and then match that up to execute that goal. And that's when you see a lot of success with AI. So our content marketing, we have nearly 100 pieces of content per month. Sometimes we bring that down to 50 if we're doing like content maintenance that month. That's a priority. But we can do anywhere from 50 to 100 pieces of content per month with one human. And that's because of our tool, which is Content at Scale. So it automates SEO content in a way where you get original, undetectable, or non-plagiarized content, and you can check all that right there in the editor in less than 5 minutes. So it's like, it's kind of a dream come true for the content marketer. But, if we had those same expectations of that single LLM, we're just not going to get the same output. So achieving, I think, realistic goals can really happen if you set the right expectations. Okay, what should the AI tool features be? And then you test that tool. Don't just believe the marketing. Like, get in that tool, see if it does what it says, because a lot of them don't. And then if it does, that's your new marketing best friend, and you're going to save so much time. So approaching it correctly is more than half the battle.
That's cool. So that's a great use case. So the 50 to 100 pieces of content per, I think you said per month with one content marketer.
Yeah.
What types of content are you creating in that 50 to 100 pieces of content? And then what tool or tools are you using to achieve that?
Yeah. So that is just our written blog content. SEO traffic has been one of our staples. And that's not counting video. We use Opus Clips to pretty much automate our short form content. So that's like another 10 to 30 pieces of content if you count video, and different AI tools for that, AI image generators for the thumbnails. So if we set all that aside, we look at the 50 to 100 pieces of written content, which is how we maintain hundreds of thousands of traffic visitors per month to our site. And that's one of our primary sources of traffic. Another one would be partnerships, and that's me and you talking. I can't automate that one. That's superhuman and that's super important. But back to the 50 to 100, that is specifically blog content. But all of the meta, title, description, the associated formatting, the publishing, all that gets automated through that one tool, the tool we built, Content at Scale. And that's something really cool. I think, is we are a use case of our own, what we sell. And that's something you won't see in a lot of other tools. Like this content actually ranks, and we're proving it each and every month. And it's the only tool we use. And if I have to go use another tool, then we're kind of, well, why isn't this tool doing everything? Because that's how we market it. So if we ever have a break there, we just build a better product. So it's an interesting approach.
And I heard Opus for short form video content. What was the tool that you just mentioned that you said was the main one that you used? Sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, that's our tool, Content at Scale.
Okay. And so Content at Scale, that's that's the tool that you guys built?
Correct. Yeah.
Got it. And so what's the URL for that for people to check it out? And what's the core use cases or problems that tool solves?
Yeah, contentatScale.ai. And what it solves is it's a one-click SEO AI writer that can either 10 to 25x one writer, or it's something you can run without a writer, because in less than 5 minutes, you get content good enough to rank with very little edits. So the use case would be really anyone that wants to build a brand through their website. So if they have a website, great domain, that website's built, and they're like, I need some traffic. Well, this is the tool to use. It's, we prove over and over again, just through our own publishing, that it works. And a lot of AI writers out there, the content doesn't actually rank because Google knows the difference. It's like, oh, there's no research. This is not original. It's not useful. There's nothing uniquely expert about this, but all of those points our tool meets. So that would be the use case is, traffic building, content marketing. If that's what you want, this is the tool.
Cool. That's great. I'm looking at the site right now. Is this more so for new content? Is this more for updating and improving existing content? A little bit of both, only blog content? Can you walk me through some of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two technology suites that we call them inside the platform. One is Rankwell and the other one is WriteWell. So Rankwell is your SEO AI writer, and you can generate new content from a keyword, an existing podcast, a YouTube video, a raw document, or an audio file. All you need to do is like one keyword. one audio file, one video, one podcast, and it'll generate a full article that will rank in Google, do all the SEO research for the article, and you'll see all of that in a dashboard. So you'll see like, here's the keyword it's going to rank for, here's the score for that keyword, here's all the content. And it's usually like a very meaty 2,500 word article, again, with no human work, automated in less than 5 minutes. So that's rank well. And the use case for that is both new and existing content, because it also has a content intelligence suite that has optimization audits. So you can put existing content in there, say, here's the blog post that I wrote 2 years ago. Why isn't it ranking for, something like build my author brand? So you can put that in, and then our tool will tell you exactly what to do to get it to rank for that keyword. So it's for both use cases. And, it's interesting because I think there is a lot of old content on the web that is in like decay mode. And so that approach is sometimes even more low-hanging fruit, immediate ROI than new content. But you still need new content to build consistent, higher volume traffic streams. And then the WriteWell suite is just to help you with marketing copy as a whole. So if you have a piece of content, you want the tone simplified, you want it summarized, you want it edited, you can run it through there and do a bunch of different content functions.
Cool. And so you're having one person essentially execute that strategy for about 50 to 100, to create about 50 to 100 blog posts a month.
And this person is a VA that is offshore that doesn't know SEO. So it's amazing. You can have somebody that doesn't actually have the skill, use a platform that automates the skill and just tell them what to look for. And if there's somebody that's reliable, if they have all those integrity traits, like you almost don't need the skill set as much anymore because the tool takes that on.
Super interesting. Is this, and is this leading to real traffic growth? Like what does the traffic volume look like for the site that you're using this for?
Yes. Yeah. So we use this to build up our own sites, both contenthacker.com, contentscale.ai. We have new sites launching, some forwards that will be going on, rebrand coming up. But contentscale.ai was built over the last year to about 500,000 monthly uniques. And that's 100% through our content. And then Content Hacker has had like an 8x traffic increase in the last 6 to 7 months. And that's 100% Content at Scale blog content.
Wow. And that's from what to what on Content Hacker?
That was an 8x increase, I want to say, on over 6 months. And right now we're looking at 40 to 50,000 uniques per month.
Cool. Not bad. Nice. I hope you're loving this episode so far. So if you're serious about writing and publishing your book, we would love to chat with you and help create a custom plan. All right. So all you need to do right now is go to selfpublishing.com/schedule. Schedule a 45-minute consultation with one of the experts on my team. All right. Let's implement what you're learning in this episode and let's see how we can help with your book. Go to selfpublishing.com/schedule. Let's talk about, it sounds like that's a primary use case for growing the business. And I would maybe like bucket how I'm perceiving AI use cases in business into kind of 2 buckets. There's bucket 1 is how do we use this to accelerate revenue? And then bucket 2 is how do we use this to reduce costs? I want to ask I think this content piece, that's a clear example on accelerating revenue. I want to ask one more question there, then let's go to the cost cutting bucket. Anything else that you're seeing or utilizing currently to grow revenue using AI? Like any other big use case that you're like, hey, this is just working incredibly well?
Yeah, that's interesting. When I think about revenue growth, for us, it's coming down to a lot of like data insights right now. And I can't say like AI has taken that out of the equation. We've got, for example, we have Microsoft Clarity installed. We're looking at heat maps, and it would be hard to have an AI run the process we run because it's so specific and specialized, and that equals more revenue. So it's like, do I want to trust that to AI right now? And then if it's a sales call, because we have a whole sales team, we've tried tools like Air AI, and from automated calling all the way to automation of lead outreach, and it just does not work as well as the human touch right now. So I think like where I see AI fitting in is all of those lower level tasks, like content to grow your traffic, videos split up into tons of formats for every platform. Like that's your lower level, top of funnel processes. AI can reduce oh my gosh, like 80% of the work, which takes you out of that, which puts you in that bottom of the funnel, revenue producing work. And I think that is where, just from my own experience, 10 years, if I leave that zone, we don't make as much money. If I have the time to go back into that zone, we make more money. So I think looking at it like that, like not necessarily replacing your sales processes, because that is built on so much trust, and automation almost deters trust in that process. So that's where, and in 3 months, I might have an entirely different opinion. And oh, we've automated our sales processes, Chandler, and it's amazing. But right now, I don't see that. I think putting the human into your sales and showing up like you did on the webinar when we did a partnership. It wasn't like your bot; it was actually you. I think that brings more revenue than AI in your sales.
Cool. That's a great perspective. Let's talk about, you mentioned Opus as a video tool.
Yeah.
And you said to create short form video content. What's the input for that, and what's the process?
Yeah. Yeah. So that is one of our favorite tools these days. I believe it's Opus Clips is what we use.
Yeah, it looks like it's opus.pro.
Yep, that's it.
If it's, I think this is what you were referencing.
That is the one. Yeah, I'm looking at it too. Yeah. So you just take a long form video, anything you've recorded, it could be like the Zoom call going to YouTube, and you upload it directly, and then you direct it on the sections you want, or you do nothing and you just click automate clips and you see what it does. And we've seen it emit or output. That's the right word. We've seen it output like near perfect clips in 60-second reels where we almost didn't need to do any editing. It's unreal. And then the Captions app. Yeah. Captions app just launched something called AI Edit inside of their app. We tried that, I want to say 4 or 5 days ago. Jeff Joyce is our media director, and he's been given a goal: replace yourself with AI in everything you do. So he's constantly finding these new AI tools. So the AI edit feature in Captions app, it spit out this 60-second clip it was incredible. It had like dark studio lighting it put behind me. It added like lightning, rain effects based on what I was saying. It added
that's cool.
that was spelled correctly. I was like, what am I looking at, Jeff? It looked like 8 hours of work that I've seen from a producer, but automated in minutes. So that's like cool. That is unbelievable. And that's like, we're seeing this get better and better, sometimes week to week. That is crazy to me.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool. Let's talk. Oh man, there's so many other questions I could ask you about this stuff. Let's maybe touch on AI in writing. Have you been using AI to write books? If so, how, what works, what doesn't, what's the quality look like, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Yes. So my 10th book coming out this November, it's called Upskill, Become AI Proof. We actually have a goal for the book to primarily use AI to develop it. And if we can't use AI, then we stop and we figure out, okay, what went wrong, so we can figure out how to use AI. All of the ideas are coming from humans. So that would be me, that would be Jeff, my co-writer. And then we're interviewing like 15 plus experts that have repositioned themselves around AI, or they are existing AI thought leaders. So we found these 15 humans, interviewed them, and the process is pretty interesting. We're building a custom process for this book development, and it looks like for the video interviews, we get an hour of gold times 11. I mean, that's a ton of content. So we put those interviews through Descript, and then we have a copywriter look at the transcript, which is AI generated by Descript, and then just make some edits and reformulate those into book chapters. And then bam, that's your book chapter on the growth of AI in the legal industry. If we found a legal expert that gave us permission to use them in the book, they get credit, they only benefit. That's like such an easy way to develop book content. And then the other piece of it is our personal insights, which are very deep. Like both Jeff and I know probably more than is healthy to know about AI. We're studying it like crazy. So we're taking our personal insights and putting that into the book. And the process for that is also AI driven. So we're in the process actually of in the Content at Scale suite. I mentioned the Rank Well suite and the Write Well suite that we have. In the Write Well suite, we're actually building an AI bot to help us write out these book chapters the exact way I would write it. And how I write is a very specific, engaging format that I've studied. I've studied Ryan Holiday, some of the Seth Godin, some of the top authors. It's a hybrid of a lot of different styles that work. So it's a recognizable style. So we're training this AI writing bot in that style. It's not there yet. So like we can't release it to the public yet. It's taking a lot of tweaks, but it's probably something we'll be able to launch and include in the AI agents inside of WriteWell, probably in by the end of August, I'd say this year.
Cool. That's an interesting layered approach. It sounds like the ideas coming from humans via write-ups. I'm sure you could do the same with webinars, slides, videos, et cetera, as the core, or like you said, interviews and transcripts of those interviews. Then AI to write the rough draft, copywriters to really clean it up. And then I would imagine human editing from there, or using AI in the editing process. What does that look like?
Yeah. So we're actually going back to our technology. We're testing out this language simplifier, tone changer. There's 3 different tools we're testing out in that process, because I even want to see, can AI be a better editor than a writer? Because what I've seen, I've studied top blogs ranking at the top of Google, compared them directly against what Content Scales Rankwell puts out. And so many times the AI does a better job at formulating a hook, a piece of data than that human writer. And I'm just like, what? So whenever we're even editing the book, we're going back through, we're clicking a button that says, simplify this sentence. And we're letting AI make that decision on how can this sound better. And it's just really interesting to see. And by the end of the next month, I'll have a better gauge on just how much work we were able to save. But I see, my books, I usually spend 8 months on them. It's a painstaking process. I write by hand. I spend an hour I usually have work sprints, but I spread it out so I can do all the other stuff still. But it's an artist process. And I think the AI can probably boil that 8 months down to 1 or 2 months, which is pretty crazy. Cool. And even less than that.
Mm-hmm. And then you said you were using a tool called Descript. I think, is that right? Descript.com. It looks like there's a ton of use cases.
Yeah, that's an amazing tool. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's talk, so we talk writing. Let's talk I never finished the loop of the cost reduction piece. I just realized that. So we talked about the revenue growth. What about the other bucket, which is using AI to reduce the cost in your business? I would assume mostly reducing labor, headcount, et cetera. Where do you see the biggest opportunities there? Where are you seeing the biggest reductions and just increases in efficiency for improving the profitability side of the businesses that you're involved in?
Yes. Well, that is probably one of my favorite aspects of all of this. That is what gets me incredibly excited. And it also makes me so glad I sold the agency. Because what I see AI doing is taking out the middleman completely. And I'll give you a scenario. So let's say, for example, somebody hires selfpublishing.com. Here's my book idea. Help me publish it. Help me make it successful. And selfpublishing.com might in the past have said, here's a content agency. Here's a book ghostwriter. Work with them. But I think in these days where we're at, what we're seeing with AI, you could literally cut out that middleman entirely and have that person matched up to an AI, kind of 2 routes. If they don't want to do anything at all themselves, they're better served by a writer using AI. But if they want to run the AI themselves and save tons of time and headache and cost, then they could run the AI themselves. So you almost don't need a writer, depending on how you play it. You still do, I still have a writer running the AI machine for me because I just don't even have time to do that. So that's where the writer can get 25x more profitable, because one writer is now, their productivity has been enhanced by an almost unbelievable amount of times. And I've put this to the test. I've talked to agencies, SEO marketing agencies that would generally hire either a ghostwriter, a copywriter, or a content agency. And whenever they paired themselves, or I helped pair them up with the right AI writer for that end goal, which was usually SEO content, they did one of 2 things. They either completely fired that content agency. I didn't really see them fire their writer. What they did was they gave their writer that tool. And then the writer never needed backup. That one writer got just unbelievably more productive. I already said that twice, but it's insane. So in one instance of a marketing agency doing that, that I saw firsthand, helped guide them through, they fired a content agency that was giving them 10,000 words for a few $1,000s. And that writing agency wasn't available on weekends, wasn't available after like 4 p.m. They had cutoffs. It was very hard to reach them. But then you replace that with AI, you give it to your staff writer, and that staff writer can turn that AI on at any time. If they're creative at 4 a.m., there's the AI. It's always on. So it's transforming creativity and output. And that's what we see in a lot of use cases with especially agencies, marketers that resell this as a service. And we see that middleman of the agency being completely cut out, which is why, again, I'm just so glad I sold that. It's like you almost don't need that expensive high overhead of a large writing team anymore. You can simplify that down to just one or two awesome writers, give them the tool and tell them what you want to see, and they can get it done 25 times more profitably.
Cool. We're long on time, or I'm long on questions and we're short on time. I want to ask maybe one or two final questions and we'll wrap up. First one would be, you've already given some top tools that you use. So you talked about content, Scale AI, obviously your guys' own tool. You talked about Opus, the Caption app and their AI editing feature. You talked about Descript. What are maybe a couple other tools that for business owners or authors, it's like, hey, this is a can't miss tool that you're finding very valuable in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, as broad market as this is, ChatGPT plus $20 a month is like indispensable to me. I open it up if I like have a business idea, a book idea. Maybe I want to create a hit list of people I want to reach out to create joint ventures or write a forward with or start another book with. And it's always my go-to for those ideas. I run them through ChatGPT and I usually get better, more refined ideas in just seconds. And those ideas are legitimate. It's not like asking your friend, oh, what do you think of this business idea? And you get completely bad advice because that's not really an entrepreneur. It's completely different. So ChatGPT has become like my go-to for any kind of idea. The data it's pulling from is a wealth. I mean, you think of like the biggest library in the world. ChatGPT has more data than that at its fingertips in seconds. And so that is incredible. Just the fact we have access to a technology that powerful. And then the other one I really like is Claude. I believe it's in the same bracket, around $20 a month. Claude, I think the recent LLM upgrade, it was Opus, not to be confused with Opus Clips, and now it's Sonnet. And Claude Sonnet is amazing. What's interesting about Claude, it was ex OpenAI people that founded it. The company is Anthropic. And what they did was they built parameters into it that all the other LLMs don't have. And so it's constantly learning within these unique parameters. And so the answers you get they sound like really well thought out reasoning. And so I wouldn't ask it for necessarily a business plan, but I would ask it for feedback on messaging. If I was naming a technology, creating a product, Claude has some really creative output that like it can 10x one idea in a second. And that's all you need to make $20 a month worth it. So those are my two other go-to tools, Claude Sonnet and then ChatGPT Plus.
Okay, interesting. What the Claude Sonnet, like I'm looking at that right now. What would be a use case? Is that more idea generation or is that more output focused? Or like how have you seen it used best?
I've seen it work really well for one example would be like if you're framing your story for the about page and you feed it like the bare bones, like here's me, my age, some of my accomplishments, write a story about me for my end user who is a marketer looking for a book publishing solution. So if you give it that, like that's not that much input. The output is generally really good and more empathetic reading and more persuasive than a lot of the other LLMs, but you're not necessarily going to get, I wouldn't count on that for book content, for anything like deeply fact-based, because it doesn't have that real-time SERP analysis on the spot happening. No single LLM does, but for something like a story, something you're going to publish that could be a piece of messaging. I found it get really creative.
That's cool. I'm making notes here. I'm sending some of this stuff to my team. This is great.
Nice.
Julia, this has been awesome. We've got a couple things as we close here. The first one is we're doing a training coming up on August 7th, all around content at scale and AI and all that good stuff. So what can people expect to learn there? I know you can register at contentatscale.ai/Chandler. That's the link to register for that training. So what can people expect to learn there, and who's this training for?
Yeah. So this is for anyone wanting to learn how to use AI in their process and understand AI. And that's usually where I start, is like, we're living in this new age. Not a lot of people in marketing, especially book authors, which you and I are both one. So I think we really relate to that audience, people wanting to publish books, entrepreneurs, creators, and again, anyone in marketing. It's hard to know how to use AI and have faith that it is something you should adapt to. Because like, we just came out of this Web3, metaverse, NFT, Bitcoin. We came out of an era, it's 2 years, of time where a lot of things hit the world and a lot of them were trends and fell through. Like the metaverse laid off 20,000 employees. It was not the right time. And so it looks like a trend right now. I think one day it'll be very relevant, but today's not that day. So where does AI fit into all of that? How should we adapt? Is it a trend? Is it hype? So that's where I want to start, is just laying some ground on what it is that we're actually facing and why it's something we have to adapt to. So that's a big one. Sometimes like that's all people take away and they're like, this helped me so much. But then beyond that, it's the state of search. How is Google going to respond? There's been so much upheaval in AI and how they're developing AI into their SERPs, their search engine results pages. And then some practical tips on what you can do today to start using AI, getting comfortable with it, not fearing it, and adapting to it, but still have your brand integrity, still have your human personality, even lead with that more, because that's what we're all about, is how do we automate the things that we shouldn't be doing so we can do more of the things we should be doing. So that is what to expect.
Cool. Well, guys, you can register for the training at the link I just mentioned. So contentatscale.ai/Chandler. Hope you find it helpful. Hope to see you there. Julia, before we close out, where would the best place, I mean, obviously the training, anywhere else people should go to find out more about you, your company, all that good stuff?
Yeah. Well, I would just echo the training. That's going to be such a great time. So definitely sign up for that. To learn more about what we do, contentatscale.ai. And if you want some of my crazy thoughts about AI, I have a YouTube channel at Julia McCoy. So you can check that out as well.
Cool. Julia, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chandler. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Self-Publishing School podcast. I know there's so many places that you could be spending your time. There's other podcasts that you could be listening to, YouTube channels that you could be watching. So thank you so much. It means the world. Now, I want you to do 3 things right now if you found this episode helpful. I don't know if you know this, but we've got a YouTube channel. It's a companion channel to this podcast. All the video versions of the episode are on the YouTube channel. So number 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number 2, if you're listening to this podcast wherever, whether this is Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Number 2, I want you to subscribe to this podcast right now so you don't miss a future episode. And then number 3, this is probably the most important, leave a review on the podcast. All right, reviews are super important and help this podcast get discovered by other people. So number 3, leave a review on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Self-Publishing School podcast. I know there's so many places that you can be spending your time. There's other podcasts that you could be listening to, YouTube channels that you could be watching. So thank you so much. It means the world. Now, I want you to do 3 things right now if you found this episode helpful. All right, number 1, I don't know if you know this, but we've got a YouTube channel. It's a companion channel to this podcast. All the video versions of the episode are on the YouTube channel. So number 1, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Number 2, if you're listening to this podcast wherever, whether this is Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Number 2, I want you to subscribe to this podcast right now so you don't miss a future episode. And then number 3, this is probably the most important, leave a review on the podcast. All right, reviews are super important and help the podcast get discovered by other people. So number 3, leave a review on the podcast. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. If you're on the fence about scheduling a publishing consultation call with my team, maybe you're not quite ready for that, I've got some free training that I think will be really helpful for you. All right, all you have to do is go to register to sign up. Go to selfpublishing.com/free training. When you do, you're also going to get a free digital copy of my new book published. And on that training, you're going to learn the next steps, so how to implement with your book. So how to write, how to publish, how to launch successfully. So go to register right now at selfpublishing.com/free training. I'll see you there.